we are going to begin the recreation of Tuesday Talks. So tonight is the evolution thereof, where we're just going to go ahead and go into a talk show and have fun, keep it more in flow. So tonight, I'd just like to welcome this awesome panel. So to your far right, coming from Atlanta, Georgia, many of you already know this man, great man, Alon, vision. To his left, we have Kelsey Sweets and her wonderful, beautiful child, Axiom, the Axeman, Axel Foley, from the Potentialist Workshop. And then to her left, we have Patsy Egan, reader, writer, teacher, professora. And I'm Jonah. It's good to see you all. Thank you for coming out. So we're just going to open up this evening with a nice, free-flowing cultivation of intention. So Patsy's going to lead us into a meditation to just start the evening so that we can get into where we want to be in this space. Give you gratitude for all of you coming out tonight and joining us. And then we'll let it go right into there. And tonight's topic, by the way, is time. So we're just going to literally talk about time, what each of the panel members has been doing in the past, what they're currently engaged in, current events, and then what their future aspirations and dreams are. So that gives you an idea of the theme for tonight. So thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm just going to use this because I'm soft-spoken, but thank you so much for coming tonight. This type of event means a lot to me because time is something that we seem to lose more of, or at least it's all relative, right? It seems like time is moving quickly, or I want us to think about slowing it down as far as we can gain mindfulness. So something I do in my writing classes to get students focused is to just first focus on sitting. Something as simple as how we sit. And I'd invite you to participate in any one or more of these self-mindful exercises. Nothing will harm you, just feel free to participate in whatever you'd like. So, as a student of Qigong martial arts, I'm interested in energy and ancient Chinese systems of mindfulness. So Qigong is one example of a type of martial art that's a lot like Chinese yoga, and it involves things like moving meditation and breathing and self-acupressure, things that can help you achieve that kind of restful state, even though you're wide awake and you're focused. So what I ask you to do here in your chairs, no matter if you're on a cushion or on a hard surface, is to be conscious of your legs. So ideally have your legs out at an angle. So, and imagine that you're Pinocchio and a string is going through your head, through your spine, through your tailbone, and into the core of the earth. So you have a restful sitting position. Your back is straight, your shoulders might be back, and if you have to bring them up and drop them, do that. I ask that you imagine that you're paddleboarding on Lake Tahoe before noon when the water is calm and you keep your chin straight out. So you're looking toward the horizon. That's what you want to do when you're paddleboarding, right? To keep balanced. So sit with your chin out, your legs at that angle, feet flat on the floor. Sometimes it's nice to put your hands on your legs or your thighs or wherever they're resting and symmetrical as best as you can manage. So I'm just going to lead you through just kind of a body scan, okay? So no matter if you're at the office, you come home from running errands and you have to start focusing on another task. That involves a bit of brain power, and sometimes it's good to press the reset button. So as you sit there, I'd like you to focus your breath below your rib cage. So there's the thing called a diaphragm in there, just below your rib cage, and that really I want you to use to control your breath in and out. Another deep breath in and out. Another breath in and out. And just do this thinking only of the breath going in and out. And you'll hear atmospheric noises, cutest baby in the world breathing, perhaps. Us. The fan. Just bring it back without judgment to your breath in and out. Let's do that a few more times now. Notice you get distracted, just bring it back to your breath for one more minute. Okay, so I don't have the time to teach you all 64 movements of the Qigong routine I learned. It's called Wild Goose or Daiyan Qigong. It's about 3,000 years old anyway. Warriors in ancient China used Qigong to keep their mind astute and aware. They'd often practice such things that I'm going to show you in the middle of the night, when no one was watching, so they could kind of hide from their enemy, their strategy of keeping that mindfulness when they're on the battlefield, right? So, one thing I like to do that's one mode of self-acupressure is to give myself an ear massage. Why an ear massage? Well, it's in the ear, and a masseur will tell you, or massage therapist, or acupuncturist, that you have in your ear pressure points that correspond to all your organs, to parts of your body, and when you massage them with your hands, you can essentially give yourself a whole full body massage without alarming the person next to you in the cubicle or whatever. So, what I like to do, and I ask my students to do this, even as they're sitting down before they start writing, just to put their index finger and their thumb. So you're basically using these two fingers, or three, whatever's comfortable. And I'm starting kind of it's not like I'm poking my ears, but I'm in the inner middle kind of ear. So you can see that going in circular motions from the front of my face to the back of my head, right? Moving in circular motions toward the outer arch of my ear, I guess you could call it, down to the lobe. So I want to do the whole lobe. And then when you reach the end of the lobe, shake out the chi, and then do the outer, so the top of your ear, right? So start again, so at the front, toward your face, and then move in those circular motions with your index and thumb, massaging your ear on the back, all the way down to your lobe again, and then kind of do that as many times as you'd like. It feels like I'm drinking an espresso in the afternoon. I don't want the caffeine, so it's kind of nice to focus you. Before we move into these wonderful discussions, because I'm really interested to hear what the panel has to say, I'm fascinated by these personalities we have up here. I just wanted to share with you a way you can achieve mindfulness in addition to self-acupressure and breathing, and that's reading. A lot of studies, brain scans are super popular right now. And they're doing brain scans to indicate that by reading novels, you're actually achieving the same brain exercise as you would while meditating, which is to say both hemispheres of your brain are active, but you're restful. You're using all of your motor memory to sympathize with characters as they move through situations, and therefore you're a more compassionate human, so say these scientists. So I'm going to share with you an infographic about reading so that you can take home with you. Maybe you can take notes. I'll pass around some pens. I'm sure we'll be talking about some interesting sources, so I'll just pass that around. I would like to invite you just to listen to this poem, inspired by Jonah. Thank you. He selected this by title. And this is a poem that I'd like to encourage us to get into that mindfulness. So you can read even an audio book, listening to like the Serial podcast and famously all kinds of wonderful audio entertainment we have. It's a way that you can achieve that rhythm of the music of good writing and get into a more productive mode. So I read you June Sorrentino. She is the English chair at Sierra Nevada College. And this poem is Heart Monitor. Even predictable irritants speed the pulse a little. The clunking car sound only disappears when the mechanic is near. The baby wakes up just as you ever so gently lie him back in the crib. Even if you only pour the glass half full, the milk ends up spilled. There's always more traffic when you're late. The button pops when you put on your party dress. A car alarm goes off every other hour the night before the big interview. And then your children move away. And at first, blessed silence becomes accursed. And your heart races when the phone rings. Because you hope for good news bubbling up from their faraway voices. And even more strongly, you fear the call that signals doom. But the letdown. It's just a robocall telling you your carpets are dirty. Along the way, the house where you grew up is torn down. The leafy streets of childhood, the helpful grocer, the neighbor who will watch your dog, they melt into oblivion. Your hands turn into aliens. The snoring that wakes you must be your own. There's no one there. One day you're lying in the middle of some unknown, a person of a certain age grown uncertain, counting up the predictable losses, losing count, starting over. You feel a flutter in your chest and think, is it a muscle or a bird? It must be a muscle, and maybe what held it in place and flexing was all the needling things that kept it from going soft, kept it from becoming an atrophied sack that no longer squeezed and pumped you toward something like life. Thank you, Dr. Sorrentino. So I'm going to pass out this info.
Nice. Thank you, Basil. Ooh. That's not a bad start. Go ahead and bring it in right there. So, breathing. Breathing in what you want in your own life. And breathing out what you want to let go. Strong meditation as well. Talking about past, present, and future in our time. Reminds me of a story. Speaking of Qigong, going back on this cruise called the Zen Cruise a year ago today. And a doctor named Dr. Love was a master of, it's called a Blue Dragon, master of Qigong medicine, Chinese medicine. So it's interesting as you bring in the notion of breathing and the diaphragm and the physiology, how that's all interconnected throughout our body. And I just remember a visualization that came to mind was he had this class and there was probably 30 of us and we were all sitting down and we're in this position right here. And he asked us to breathe through our sphincter. So we're literally all sitting there like trying to channel our breath with our buttholes. So the interconnected massaging that happened, it was so interesting to see how many people laughed and just found so much joy and playfulness and childlikeness and just sitting there with their hands on their knees, laughing at each other, trying to breathe through their sphincters. So however you decide to breathe, just remember to do so. So let's go ahead and, speaking of time, get right into the time, and the time is now. But we're going to go through and talk about past, and just open up and go through this line of time as though it was a linear approach, and talk about past so that you can get to know each one of our guest speakers today and where they come from. And so it's somewhat of an introductory period, and we'll go ahead and start with vision.
Yeah, good job. Thank you very much for the crew that set it all up. Thinking about the past and having a great conversation with Genesis, which is at 9 years old, right a minute before everything started. So she came early so we can have a quality time together. And we talked about the past, that we worked really hard in the past. So right now, half an hour before the show that I'm going to be on stage, I don't have to do nothing. So that's what was my past. For the past 3 years, I was here in Reno, helping setting up our Burning Man community, putting together a few individuals that have a lot of influence in this community that help to put together many more people together. We worked in the past of setting up a facility that many people will be able to come and enjoy for many years to come. And it was a lot of work. It was very rough work. That today, acknowledging that I don't have to do nothing and all of you guys doing whatever needs to be done in order to make it happen, it's an accomplishment. And that's the connection between my past of learning to become who I am to today, that's where I am, and see what we created together. So that was like a past and present all together. In the past before I came to here, I got to live in Atlanta, Georgia, and then in New York, and then in Israel. In Israel, I got to be in the Navy and boarding school and doing a lot of cool stuff in the past. It gave me a lot of tools and built me who I am today. It gave me the ability and the confidence to sit on stage and explain the story. So I'm very grateful for my past. And I had a conversation with a friend today that what I would like to change in my past. And I said, absolutely nothing. I mean, nothing. If I'll take anything, like even one meeting or one conversation or one lesson or one whatever, I won't be able to sit right now and have this talk with everyone. So I'm very grateful for where I am in the present. So I'm grateful for my past a lot. Thank you.
All right, Miss Sweets.
My past, let's see. I have been focusing on the cultivation of consciousness in creative communities and finding ways to combine art and psychology without it necessarily becoming art therapy. My experience within psychology has been within applied behavior analysis. So how do you take aspects of behaviorism and apply them to the creative process? Or how do you take those facets of behaviorism and teach people how to be creative and innovative? So it's not necessarily that you're teaching people how to do art or how to paint, but how to think creatively or how to think outside of the box. I think that kind of wraps up my past in a nutshell, but it's interesting to me how the past is kind of turned into the present and how this one spectrum is going to continue on into the future. And being able to participate and be involved in grassroots organizations and small arts groups and community development has been very interesting. And trying to find different ways to wake up the community to the arts and to the creative process, and trying to find ways to connect artists with their community. So when they become conscious of how their creative process influences their community, then the community becomes aware of how the arts help to build stronger communities and to teach people to appreciate the arts and the aesthetic process and the creative process is, I guess, my ongoing goal. And in terms of recent past, having a child and finding a way to bring that into the work that I do and how to combine motherhood with working in the creative process and looking outside of just creating an art piece into creating a life form, and how to instill the same sort of values so that this young human being gets an opportunity to go out into the world and to help build stronger communities, or how to create communities. terms of time, how long a time will that take? I wouldn't. Really interested to hear more from both of these individuals here about the inertia involved in starting something from scratch, you know. So as someone who is rooted here, I'm really interested to hear how you did that. And as someone who's interested in getting rooted here or in this here is interested. I have been all over the American West as a writing teacher. Denver, Southern Utah, and Cedar City, and finally at UNR. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, but I've lived in Pittsburgh, Chicago, Ireland, and in each place I've always strived to adjust with transition. So time has been really important to me in terms of carving out time in my day where I can practice mindfulness. So walking more than driving, taking every movement I do down to gracefulness, so mindful movement. My interests, scholarly-wise, have always been in literature and writing, but also kind of in consciousness as well. I'm really fascinated to hear some of what you studied, because my dream program would be to go to UC Santa Cruz PhD History of Consciousness program, but I don't think I have any more school in me, so I read. I'm a student of books, and I carve out time to do my own disciplines. So I encourage my students, and I hope I can encourage you, to approach reading as a way of mindfulness, and also different kinds of reading. So not only the wonderfulness that is the Nevada Caucus and all the stuff that goes with that, but also reading stuff like poetry I shared with you, or something of a different genre. It's like the 4 food groups. You do a little news, you do a little poetry, you do a little sustained prose in fiction or non, and mix it up. So it's worth your time for sure.
All right. Super awesome. Super awesome right there. Well, it's good to see you all again. I just want to follow that up and introduce our relationship in the past and how I got to get to know each one of these speakers very briefly. And so starting with Lawn with Vision right here in the Morris Burner Hotel, just outside of those heart gates. And it was interesting to just have so much in common with someone that you just met, or have we? And so, yeah, we just continued to build and cultivate much of this consciousness and togetherness and unity, and thinking about this local community and how we can expand outside of these walls and walls in general, so that we can be out amongst each other and make a difference, you know, both in our local communities, in ourselves, and then on a global level. And that led into then meeting Miss Kelsey Sweets over at the Potentialist Workshop, which on every Wednesday, she began holding a workshop in a space for the artists. Right before tonight, going back into time, we sat and we drank tea. And being the wordsmith that I am, I'm thinking about an acronym to go along with this idea of tea time. What I came up with is teaching evolutionary art. And that just came as an organic expression of what we're all here essentially to do, is we're teachers and students of the arts. And each of us is an artist. And what is our art? You know, and sharing our art with each other with love and with intention to celebrate this uniqueness, this authenticity. You know, we can wear all the things that make us authentic on the outside, our outfits, our costumes, our clothing attire. I heard many people tonight, they're like, man, I've never seen you in a suit before. Yeah, I usually wear sweats, you know, because of what I'm used to doing on a day-to-day basis. So we change what's outside of us, essentially, and that's expressive of what's inside of us. And ultimately, that's what we want to get down to, is we want to get into our character, our integrity, what makes us who we are, the genuine, authentic person, the self. So, that being said, and then coming back to Patsy, you know, I'm gonna go into present moment because that's the next section we're going to go off. And today I was at the public library downtown, and I was sitting in this space meditating and getting ready to go into what kind of work I wanted to get done, and I saw this open clearing space on the 4th story that was next to a maker space, and it was just wide open saying, we need students, we need a classroom here. And all I could think about was, this is a perfect location, a perfect space to hold a classroom where we can come in and we can teach these arts, these evolutionary arts, and bring in different speakers that will come from talk shows, that will come from our local community, that we can share, and we can bring in youth of all ages to hear what we have through our experience, what we have to offer, and to sharpen each other. And so seeing that open space, and then below that space, the roots were fiction novels, biographies in fiction, and then also in Spanish. And there's a teacher instructor who's coming in right now from Romania who's actually teaching Spanish here at the Morris. I just want to throw that out there as well, where the Morris is really offering such an awesome platform to cultivate the arts, and for all of us to come in and just represent and reflect each other's awesomeness all the time. You know, it's the first thing you see when you come in and you say, awesome. So let's go ahead and move forward into the awesomeness of what the panel is currently doing for 2016, what we're engaged in at this current moment. And I'll go ahead and start it right back to down the line with the mic and Patsy Egan's hand.
I'm trying to survive right now this semester, but that's what I'm working on. But I am writing a couple books right now on how to teach writing in college classrooms using issues that are relevant, such as water topics, like the thing happening in Flint, Michigan is one of our modes of study, you know, thinking about argumentation around water access and arguments for maintaining infrastructure, things like that. And another book about creative nonfiction, using that in the composition classroom. There's a lot to be said for, there's research to indicate that writing about yourself is empowering. So something my sister does, and she has 2 kids, and she's in the chair of an English department. She has a disability she's handling. She makes time for a 5-line journal entry every day. And she has a little notebook by her bed, and this is something I'm beginning to practice myself daily. Writing just 5 lines, an anecdote of what happened, anything memorable, something you realized, an aha moment, an epiphany that you had that day. Really helps you, remember things that you might not put on a grocery list or bookmark on your browser, things that are more matters of the heart. Also, handwriting is something that studies have also shown leads to better comprehension. So if you write about yourself in a 5-line journal or any other medium, try to do it in a book, like a notebook, as opposed to typing it like a blog. There's neurological reasons why handwriting is more beneficial. But that's just me rambling. I'm interested to hear some of your stories about how to maintain mindfulness after.
I think it's been a big one for me too. I had gone to see a palm reader like 5 or 6 years ago, and one of the first things that she said when she looked at my palm was, "Make sure you write every day." I mean, I don't, but I try, and at least I have that in the back of my mind. And for the last maybe 8 or 9 years now, I've filled a book every year, whether it's just random things that come out of my mind, or horoscopes, or tarot card spreads, or poems, or just whatever nonsense. And then, I think writing is a really good way just to process things, especially when you take something out of your head and you put it down onto paper and it becomes tangible. It's something that you can see and something that you take and extract outside of yourself, or as an artist, as a painter, or as a portraitist or something. when you take that image and you put it onto paper and you take that emotional experience and you take it outside of yourself, you separate it from yourself. And I don't know if that experience is the same for other artists or not, but I've always noticed that within myself as I'm going through something difficult, to find a way to name it or to label it or to describe it as something outside of me. And then once it's that, then it's not something that I don't have to carry around with me, or something that doesn't like clog my memory or my focus. And then I think the other part of that too is you hit on Qigong, and I got a little bit of experience with it, but not much. But the aspects of breathing and really checking into your breath and being mindful of each of your steps, or if, like a good mindfulness practice right now, think about your feet. What do your feet feel? Are they both on the ground? Are your toes, pressing into your shoes? Are your heels digging into the ground? Why? Are you curling your toes? Are you holding in these tensions? Why? And then when you check into the body and you can release that or breathe into those spaces, then you can help to process that stuff as well. I don't know if it's really going on point with your present focus topic, but I guess that's where we're at. Okay.
We're in flow.
I'm curious if you mentioned writing all these notebooks. Do you write through some of your ideas for creating things, or is it like a memoir type exercise, or both? Or
A little bit of both. It was 2 years ago at the end of my master's program. I took a course called Art and Consciousness. And one of the things that we had to do was come up with some sort of art piece that described our consciousness. So I took elements of all these journals that I've composed for about 7 years, along with journals, doodles and whatnot, and then turned it into somewhat of an art book, memoir type thing, or took these different elements of my life and then put them into something to kind of reprocess it. So I don't know, it just depends. I think there's a big part of it that helps to, at least for myself, channel in stuff as well. So if I'm getting into creative blocks, or if I just have so much going on and I can't figure out exactly why I feel the way that I do, just to allow myself the opportunity just to put down whatever. And what I think is fascinating that you mentioned about handwriting, especially as I've gone back through my journals, the emotional expression that you get through the handwriting is really fascinating. So if you're really angry and you're scribbling your words, that is a cathartic thing, or at least something that you can be mindful of, maybe that you weren't aware of before. Or are you rushing things, or are you taking the time to meticulously write every single letter, or is spelling an issue or not? So it depends. But I've always had in the back of my mind in doing these journals to turn it into something later on down the road that could turn into a memoir. So notes of my life that aren't necessarily literal to what's going on, but hints, or kind of, how do you put it? A secret code that only I know, that if I put down, I know what the true meaning is, but maybe people won't pick up on literal things that happened in my life, but they'll get the general idea of what I was processing at the time.
It's actually a nice topic, the writing in the past and stuff. When I just moved to Reno, I went to Job because I heard that all the Bruno was going to Job. And I hang out over there for half of the night, and I met this lady that told me about morning pages. You guys familiar with morning pages? The Artist Way, yeah. It's a great book that she told me about it, but we never got to spend the entire night and think about the book deeply and go super philosophical about it. But she said that you're reading it, and you're reading the book, and the book will tell you how to live your life as an artist. And if you live your life fully as an artist, you will accomplish much bigger things. So the first chapter of the book is to write 3 pages. Every morning to write the morning pages, you just typing or writing 3 pages. I try to write it sometimes, I'm trying to type it most of the time. And I know for a fact that every time that I've done it, it worked. So I started back in 2012 when I just moved to Reno. And I already was in my beginning of my spiritual awakening, and I know that I have to stay positive, and I have to focus my intention into things that I would like to create, and thought become things. I mean, it was all of this knowledge and philosophy that we discovered back in the days coming into practice right now. And yes, I'm allowed to write in the artist way whatever I want, and I can write negative things, and no one allowed to read my artist morning pages. Even not myself. They said, do not read it for the next 8 months. Don't go back and read your artist way. So I never had the rush to go and read it. So I say I can write whatever I want, and I can be super negative, and I can just get everything off my chest right now on a paper, and it's great, right? So not based on my philosophy. And my philosophy said that you have to keep your mind conscious into positive things. And even if you thought about it, even while you vented, it's still complaining about it. So I stopped doing that as well. And I use my morning pages into my conscious writing of creation. And I start building my philosophy, and I start building my reality through these morning pages. And I use them every morning to build whatever I would like to create today and tomorrow and the following day. And it's funny because every time I remember myself typing, this thing's really working. I just created that thing. I remember that I wrote about it 3 days ago, and now I have it. So it's like fantastic. It's almost like magic, but it's not magic because I know how I did it. I wrote about it 3 days ago, and I just created it. And every time that I'm finding myself in the extremely successful state of being, I'm finding that I left my morning pages aside. I ignore those. I'm so busy of being successful that I forgot that I created it with those specific tools. So as she told you to make sure that you write, but you're not really doing it, I know exactly what I'm telling you guys do. Go and do tomorrow morning pages. Wake up tomorrow morning and write what you have on your mind. Express yourself, 3 pages long. It's not the topic of what you're writing. If you focus it and you write things positive that you would like to create, you do those. But if you just want to write and express yourself for 3 pages long, you'll see magic will happen. And make sure that you're visiting it tomorrow morning and you're doing another 3 pages, and the following day another 3 pages. It's a guaranteed change. Guaranteed. I mean, I've done it. It's working. And then every time that you find yourself not doing it for a little bit, because you will forget, because life will get you busy. And I have to be up by 6:30 if I want to write and go to my meeting that will happen at 7:30. But I don't want to wake up at 6:30. You know, it's so nice and warm in my bed, so I'll wake up at 7:15. I'll skip the morning pages right now. I'm going to my meeting. As soon as I'm coming from the meeting, I'm going to do my morning pages. But not really. Talking about the present. Present keep us really, really busy. I mean, this life thing that's happening during this present, it's occupying most of my time. I'm enjoying being busy, but I'm forgetting those basic rituals that I trained myself to do, that I've been proved to myself that's working, scientifically proof. If I did a science myself and I say, let's see what my life looks like right now, and I'm going to write every single day, tomorrow morning, every single day I'm going to do this, I'm going to write 3 pages, and let's see what my life will look in a week from now, or 2 weeks from now, or 3 weeks from now, or 15 years from now. I know that it's working, so now I have to bring myself back to it. So in my present time, I choose to take all the knowledge that I earned in the past and put it right now into paper. Not necessarily into writing as a book that you will be able to read. That was my original thought. I said I can write a book with everything I know. I can pick up a date in history and I can write everything that my mind remembers from that specific date. And I'm really good at it. I have great memory and everything is in my head. But now I want to write it in a way that it will be a script, so we can play it, so we can show it, so we can paint it, so we can do stuff with it. And not necessarily just words, but now it's also feeling and imagination and bringing all of that into a way that you can experience it, not just learn it. Does that make sense?
Too. So this book that I had created the foundation that turned into a performance piece. So it's interesting what we do with it within the potentialist, or under potentialism. It was an idea or a concept devised by my partner Pan Pantoja, which we'll leave off for another topic, or that he's talked about before. If you Google it or look it up, you can find plenty of information on it. But it's kind of just that idea where you have one form of art that melds and forms into another form of art. So although you start with the book could then turn into some sort of musical composition. Or if you hear a song, or if you write a song, that song could then inspire a painting. Or if you have a painting, that could then turn into like a social advocacy performance street art piece, or something where you bring in other people outside of yourself, but to allow that creative process or that art process to be fluid. So when you say that you're an artist, It's not so much that you're a painter, or that you're a musician, or that you're a writer. Maybe it's all of these things. Maybe you're a model. Maybe you just the way that you live your life in terms of, I think the way that the artist way does it is just to be mindful and to be conscientious that everything that you do is an opportunity for creation. And if you're thinking in terms of aesthetics and you want to make a difference in the world, how does your creative process influence or impact the other people around you? Or if you have a message that you're trying to get across, how are you going to do that? Maybe write out some ideas and then turn it into a Broadway play. Who knows?
Listening to you talked about your project earlier and thought about process. And I like what you were saying about handwriting. I hadn't really thought of that, but I think my handwriting has become more animated lately. I must be going through something. But I found also that it's good to think about writing not just as something, something that will manifest something for you, but also just to get out the bad chi, I guess you could say, the qigong way, just stuff that's crowding your mind. It could be mundane, it could be a list, it could be something that's just stuck in your craw that really makes you mad that happened, that day. To get that kind of emotive stuff down and essentially out of your system, or at least of your immediate passions, is another way of clearing the slate. So I often encourage people in my classes to write a prompt or something that's on their mind or a dream they had. I'll leave it open sometimes, but often I'll keep a notepad near me so that when I'm writing something totally different and I can't stop thinking about what my dog needs tomorrow, I'll write it down and go back to the task. So you can almost use it as like kind of a circular file of your thoughts that you need to spin away from you so you can do stuff.
Are you one of those type of people, kind of like I am, where you have like a notebook for like list of things to do, and then a notebook for a list of creative ideas, and then like your journal book, and then and then finding ways to bridge them all together and have you piece of it.
I got corner on the page. I have a corner for like my wish list, things that I think that we should have. So it's a corner on the page, and I have like the lines of the ideas that have to happen. And then if I need to break idea into stuff, I'm putting it in the right corner on the bottom. So that's like taking this line and breaking it into like 6 tasks that have to happen. But now I have an image in my head that I have to put to make sense, because just the task by themselves make no sense. So the left corner is for the image, like a quick drawing of what it will look like. So if you look at the entire page, it will make a lot of sense. It's to me.
Are you into doing vision boards as well?
Yes, absolutely. We are doing vision boards regularly. At least that's something that when I was here, we used to do it like at least once a month. If it's in the house or if it's in Wesker, together with the patient of the detox center. But yeah, absolutely.
Well, this is how we actually originally met.
Yeah.
I was running the streets of Reno, and I'm following the yellow brick road, and I stop at Purple. It's a long story. We'll take care of that another night. And so the Purple led me to this building, and I walked inside and came in, and I'm in this back room here near the bar, and there was a vision board up on the wall, and I started looking at it and reading through it. And that morning, I literally created or co-created. This is a word that I like to use very intentionally, but co-created a vision board, and it was identical to one that was right up on that wall. And I'm sitting there, I'm tripping right now, like, wow, this is really serendipitous. Oh yeah, so a vision board it could be writing, it could be pictures, it could be cutouts, it could be any representation of a thought process, a mindfulness, if you will, put down on a canvas. And then it's a collage of sorts, it's a collective of those thoughts. So it's like a brainstorm,
Manifestation.
And, yeah, it's a powerful manifestation tool.
This is how you create your future.
Yes.
It's what we say when we had Patsy here for the first time with UNR. We did the vision board with the students. They came here for their classworks, and now we're doing vision board at the Bruno Hotel. Is any one of you guys ever done vision board? I mean, it should be everyone raising their hands. There are a few people that can't raise their hand. Do a vision board. If you guys believe in magic or not, that's how you make magic, like in real life. Same thing with this manifestation of writing things and visualize those things with word, visualizing them straight into images and places that you want to be and people that you want to meet, and you just put it on a page and it's just click together. It's nice to visit vision board a year later or 2 years later and say, oh cool, look, I got this one and I have this place and I've seen those people and we actually did it. We accomplished this vision board. And it's like all of those crazy ideas and pictures just coming into reality. So if you have never done vision board, or if you've done million vision board, do another one. Wake up tomorrow morning or go tomorrow. Go, on the way home, you got home, you're sitting, you're enjoying, you're relaxing your evening. Go on your Pinterest, yes, technology. Go to Pinterest and book those things that you would like to create in your life. Do this research and build your own vision board right then. And then a few weeks later, or a week later, or the following day, or a minute later, go into this board that you just created and swim, through all this picture that you just pinned. And it's doing the exact same thing that we just said. It's to set the intention and making those things happen. It's like creating your reality one-on-one. Make it happen by visualizing it daily, intentionally, make it your reality. It's that simple, It's so cool how simple is that.
We're speaking of simple. We're going to take a simple break.
Yeah.
And in that break, just to set the intention going into it, is take your time to meditate on what we've discussed here as a panel. And 3 words that come to mind are co-creation, transmutation, and manifestation. And those 3 areas are areas where, like, using this process that we've all shared, I think that's why we really came across one another and formed strong bonds of relationship, is we vibrate on this level of using these tools, using this magic of manifestation and putting it down onto a canvas. And that's why I say we're all artists. I didn't realize what my art was until I just let go, just started putting it down. So tonight, as you're sitting there, one of the things I like to see in our audience moving forward is participation. And that participation tonight could be those sheets that were passed out earlier. We have pens, now we have paper or canvas. But when you start taking notes of words that resonate with you as we speak through this panel, what words jump out at you, which ones hit you in the heart that you're like, I want to walk away from this and put it into my tool bag, and so you can revisit those words, revisit them, and create more upon it, build upon those roots. So it's almost like your own grassroots movement, cultivation of the art inside of your own soul. So with that being said, I'd just like to go ahead and let us go into break. We'll reconvene in 12 minutes.
And we talked about the past, and then we mumbled a little bit about the present, and then we talked about more writing and stuff. And now it's the future. And because I'm holding the microphone already, I can start talking about the future a little bit. And the way that I see my future and how it's everyone jumping in, it's becoming everyone's future. And this is how I wrapped also the connection of consciousness and our growth to what we're doing right now. So I see the past was helping and doing lots of work related to what Burning Man taught me, and practicing it in the present and just writing it and trying to write a book about it and try to make more knowledge and capture it in this present, looking at the future. So how can we take all of this knowledge that I earned in the past myself and explain it in a way that you will say, I also earned a lot of knowledge myself and I also can break it down. So how to break it down in a way that it will make more sense and will get much more people who want to follow it and actually will make a bigger difference in this world. And talking to our friend Maestro outside before coming back from the break, it's what's the next step of our evolution? So we went to the desert and we showed to ourselves that we can celebrate and we can party our life out and we can do it right. And then we say, can we practice it in everyday life and do like a regional Burning Man event that will keep us busy? And then we evolve again and we say, can we have build space that whenever we choose to go and be working Burning Man style, we can go and do that. And then evolution again happening, and now we're in Burno Hotel and live Burning Man life and have Burning Man activity. So what's the next step of our evolution? You know, how to make it for one space, many more spaces, and what's the evolution from that? I mean, we always want to continue to evolve, and if you tell me that our final step of evolution is where we're at right now, I will not agree with you, you know. I will say, no, it's not true. We have to continue to evolve. We have to make things bigger and better. So now we're talking about cities and facilities and like a big scale. And how can we have one build space and one livable space and one cooking space and one clinic space and one, all of it is connected together. And instead of having just one building that contains all of those, it's to break it down to a farm or to a city scale or to a country. I mean, it's doable. We talked about it, if you guys will look for my last speak that I did on Tuesday talk, it's my going away speak back in September. I talked about this lodging idea, that how can we travel between one place to the other. We can pick any place we want on the planet, and through our membership, to our relationship, to our trust system, we can travel anywhere and stay with our burner friend. So we're almost there, you know, it's a really big concept. Again, the evolution for that is to have, you can pick up any city and you can be really, really busy with so many people and doing this Burning Man like on a bigger scale in everyday life. So we right now in Atlanta, Georgia, having projects that we are planning on doing the same things, and it's setting up the one project, it will be the mothership, and then around it we'll have like a few other projects that now we are in a neighborhood, we took over a neighborhood with what we're doing. Potentially this neighborhood will get bigger and more collaboration will happen, but we will do it, and right now we have like a whole area in the city. Potentially in the future we'll go to the city. But instead of trying to just communicate with our own city right now and going to a big city and start from the inside out, we're going to the government and say, give us places. What do you have available? Where do you have it available? It can be in the middle of downtown Reno that say we have a building, or we have a warehouse, or we have a parking lot, or we have whatever, that the city are willing to much more to collaborate with us here in town. But to go to the city and say, who is in charge of the city next to us? Because it's not really a city. It was a city back in the mine days, you know, they opened a city. But it's not a city anymore. There are 5 people that live there just to hold the city because their grandpa is owning the house and they don't want to let go. But the government owns the rest of those houses. So instead of fighting with the government, say, government, we are on something. We don't have all the details yet. We are experimenting it ourselves. Do you want to experiment with us? If you give us this property, if you give us this city, we will bring our burner friend, we will bring our artist friends. We will do what we're doing as burners and artists inside of this burner hotel idea, inside of this little city idea that chose to embrace us. And we can do it bigger and better if we have the facilities. So it's not that much big of a risk for the government, if you think about it, but it's a lot of trust from their end towards us that we will do it right, that we won't do stupid stuff. So let's not make their fears come true and make them imagining these dreams and make this come true. Because I think we can. I mean, I know we can, because we accomplished stuff like that. This was a really big deal, and it's still a really big deal. And working on making these things happen, you see how many people around you working really, really, really hard to keep these things what it can be and keep evolving. So going into a bigger stage right now, into a bigger scale, into a city scale, will take much more work. Are we ready? I think we are. You know, I truly think we are. So that's my future planning. It's how to make it a reality. Because in the philosophy, it's a great philosophy, and it's a cool concept if it's like just as a concept. But can we make it a reality? Can we make sure that the history book being written as we speak, and those history books will be picked in 50 years from now, and we say, yeah, this is where they started it. I mean, I think we can. I truly believe that we can.
I see places like the Potentialist and the Morris and the Nada Dada Festival, the 3rd weekend of June. I was just talking with somebody here about that. These little, and that's like a weekend long where they claim space. It's Jane Jacobs, the urban planner, would have called it blighted space. You know, space that isn't fully used and experiencing a lot of foot traffic and other kinds of traffic, commercial infusion, etc. So I think Reno is in this unique situation right now where there's a lot of excitement around the, Midtown and naming this area Midtown, also, and the real estate associated with these namings of neighborhoods, and also how this development I see in Rio is also co-opting art in a really great way. So I feel like if we work together and we organize to petition or proposition the city council, whom I've heard are good to work with, I think we could stake our claim early, much like the president just set aside millions of acres of desert land. We need to claim some acres of high desert city for creative potential and consciousness raising.
Prime Minister of Israel, Ben Gurion, which is the airport right now called on his name, he said that the only way for us to survive as a country is if we're going to bring the soul into the desert. And that's what he did himself. He finished his cadention as the Prime Minister and he went to live in the desert. And he gathered with him a lot of people and they brought the soul into the desert. And they ran away right after that, they didn't make it. But it was a good try, and it built a lot of great relationship between very strong individuals back then. They tried, they didn't make it at all. It was a complete fail, and they said that they will never try it again. But they tried it many times after that, and now right now we have a lot of cities, we have a lot of farms, we have our friend Maestro volunteers in one of those kibbutzes back in the days in Israel. So it's really a system that's been proved that didn't work, but working. Because at the end, we still have the country. You don't know exactly what was the main reason to protect the country, and if the big movement of the big cities helped, or if it's a small movement of the tiny kibbutzes helped. But at the end, we made it as a collective. And that's the same philosophy that we are teaching right now. It's not a specific one way that will work. All of us, in all of those ways, collaborating and understanding that the others will do their best to make it happen, but it will make it work. So I know that you're doing in your job the best you possibly can, and I hope that you're trusting that we are doing the best we possibly can. And if we're having that faith, unconditional faith in each other, that they're doing the best they possibly can, we will succeed. We will make it happen. You will do whatever you want to make happen, and I will do whatever I want to make happen. So at the end, we made it happen, whatever it is. So it's like this new mindset, old mindset that we are teaching ourselves. I'm not trying to preach it to nobody, but we're teaching ourselves and trying to convince ourselves that's the only way for us to succeed on those big, gigantic levels. So that's my philosophy in the penny of consciousness and how you creating this reality by really believing that other people have the same reality as you do. We all share the same big picture, but we're all not necessarily sharing the path to this big picture. So as long as I know that you're heading to the exact same big picture that I do, and you will do your best to get to this big picture, I can let you go on your way and you can do it on your free time, and I'll meet you down at the end of the road. Whoever want to join for each one of those individual strips, it's not necessarily one way to get to this big picture. You lead your way, and you lead your way, and I will lead my way. And you guys will lead your way and choose which one you want to follow at what point. So it might be something that I'm explaining right now is very interesting, and you guys said, I want to be part of it, What can I do to help you? Yeah, I have a vision on my own, and I have a big picture of my own, but it seems like you're on something. What can I do to help you? So do that. Go and find someone that's doing your vision. Go and find someone that's making your dream come true, that you know that he's doing this big picture, and say, what can I do to help you? And help them out unconditionally. And that's the only way that I found to make it work. Our goals became bigger than ourselves. So I don't see us as an individual accomplishing it by ourselves. We have to collaborate in those.
So my master's is in transformative leadership, and what I took away from that was that the only way that you can really lead and influence people is to lead by example. And to lead by example, especially in terms of consciousness, what I think you two both have kind of put on here, is that once you become conscious of something, or once you know something, you become responsible for it. So once you become aware of how you influence other things, you can't deny that. You can't say, oh, I wasn't aware that I was hurting you, even though that you know that. because you're responsible for it. And I think that's why so many people hesitate towards consciousness or self-consciousness, or don't want to become conscious of anything, because once you know, you are therefore responsible for it, and you can't unknow something. And to lead by example and to take it upon yourself to learn more and to know more, you really have to practice humility. You have to understand that you have to be adaptable, and your ways aren't always the right way, and even though your intentions might have been good, they don't always turn out that way. But to learn how to work with other people in a group by taking care of yourself first, because nobody else can be responsible for you either. You have to be responsible for yourself. Or one of my favorite analogies is, like if an airplane is going down and it's going to crash and the air masks drop down, if you have a small child, you have to put the air mask on yourself before you put it on your child, because if you put it on your kid and you die, well, like, how is he going to live? You have to take care of yourself, and people think that that's selfish. But why I think it would be selfish to remain ignorant and to not take responsibility for knowing more and for wanting to become conscientious of how you influence things.
Let's see if this pause for questions from the audience. Any questions from the audience that will lead us for the next topic? Anyone? Tracy, come on, give us a question. Come on the spot. Question about the weather, come on. Yes?
Back to your idea about building cities. You're familiar with Arco Santi, of course? Of course. Arco Santi? He's an architect who tried to build, well, he did build part of his vision of a very unique human environment in the Tucson, Phoenix? Phoenix area of Arizona. And very much a humanist, organic architecture that he never had enough money to actually build. He built parts of it, and it was very innovative and way outside the normal. And he said I guess basically it didn't, he never saw his vision completely materialized, but there's a remnant of it. And the concept of what he was trying to do in the desert for people and how to change the way they live was remarkable. Arco, A-R-C-O-S-A-N-T-I, Arco Santi. You know the guy's name?
Is it Paolo something? I'm not sure. Solano, something like that. I have a friend that lived there.
Really?
For a while, yeah. They made bells to
Support themselves
Yeah.
to sell the wealth. But just because I like your idea of finding ways to revitalize and re-engineer towns that need help in the desert. And he was trying to do that in a very unique vision. You might look it up and see if there's anything that would inspire you or speak to you in his concept for desert architecture.
I will definitely look forward to that. There's so much knowledge, and if you can share this knowledge, on any other channels after this today, if it's on the event page or if it's on the Facebook page, so it would be a reminder for all of us, because I think it's important knowledge. We all in the same mindset and we all in the same consciousness, and if someone want to paint the wall green or want to paint it red, that's the details that it's not really matter to me. I'm not sure if it's matter to you, although I would like to have it painted purple, but that's a different topic. I'll let them make their own decision at the end. It's not really how it will look. The question is if it's going to work, and if someone tries something and it seems promising, we better not to try things again and again and again. If we know stuff that are working, or if we know stuff that do not work, I really believe that by communication we will avoid a lot of trouble. And we're afraid to communicate yet. We are learning how to communicate by this platform. Many times here, you have to use your imagination, but in 2 years here, I get to talk to a lot of people. And it's a lot of great ideas that people really want to start and make it happen here. You kind of have to support those ideas and see what will happen. And you kind of have to be the brain and say, we actually tried this idea. I can see you're enthusiastic, but it really didn't work. But you really, really want to try it again, so we're really, really going to fail again. Let's do it. And it's not like I'm creating fail and I'm manifesting fail, but it's a knowledge that we already know that it works or not works. And that's the trust that you have to bring in your leadership, that is he really being negative right now for whatever reason? Maybe it's his weekly of the monthly period that he have, and so maybe he not know what he's talking about, or maybe he does know what he's talking about, and we should follow and listen. So it's like, and if you follow and you succeed, and the leader was wrong, is the leader will lose his trust right now, or he will build different skills and now we have trust? I mean, it says, as a leader that have to make those decisions, I'm finding myself in challenges. Should I say, yes, let's try something again that I know that we tried 3 or 4 times, and every time that we are trying again, it's not really working? Or should I be the hard boss and say, no, we're not going to try it again. Don't spend your time. Please trust me on that. I don't have time to try to build your trust. You have to trust me on that. And we're doing something different. Yeah.
I have a question for Betsy. How does Qi and Tai Chi relate? How are they?
You know, I was talking with somebody about this because I'm trying to research that myself. I'm constantly studying Qigong. There's a book I just started delving into called Qigong Fever, which is a hardcore history about the form, mostly political, and then all kinds of books coming out of specifically this East Bay Press that's applying Qigong to mental health, and it's a great, I think it's called, I forget, I'll post it, was that on the event page. In terms of directly answering your question, I think the difference has something to do with region. From what I understand, it's a very simple understanding of the history, the deep history, like not just the cultural revolution that is in this book, Qigong Fever, but it has something to do with yoga crossing over Tibet. There is this moment in history where yoga and Qigong kind of crossed the peaks of, help me out with the mountain range over there. Himalayas, thank you, sorry. Yeah, and so in that literal transgression, I think a cultural transgression happened. There was kind of a meshing, and I think maybe Tai Chi might be some blend. I don't know, Jasmine, can you speak more to this distinction?
I like to think of kind of like Qigong in a really simple way is like more individual movements. You know, so there are shorter chunks, and then the Tai Chi is like longer sequences. So, you know, both of them are dealing with energy, but the Tai Chi is almost like a longer movement meditation, and then the Qigong is, you know, it's not worse or better, but it's just usually more repetitive movements that are.
How can that area of expertise or knowledge be applied to consciousness and scope of
Something that I just figured this out from doing it. I wouldn't have been able to foresee this, but like with all meditation, there's something about, at least the form I learned, okay, so this is like a newer form of Qigong, it's like 2,000 years younger than some of the Lotus forms, for instance. It's called Wild Goose or Dayan Qigong, and one thing I learned is that each of those movements has specifically something to do with organs in your body, so it's very much kind of pushing on yourself and moving your muscles in a way that exercises you of yourself internally, and so the end result is the same end result I get from having a really good reading session or a meditation session, which is this general buzzing in my being that feels like a really nice car engine, like a new car, maybe just like a well-oiled machine, you know, that's how I feel. So it's good to do it. I read at a full moon or at midnight. You know, traditionally the warriors practice this in the dead of night. Something to do with the moon cycles, if you really want to get particular. I like to do it before I eat, and with plenty of water and tea.
Yeah, I see it more as a setting intention and the way of practice consciousness, and everyone will tell you their way that they practice their own consciousness, and at the end it's the exact same thing. It can be through reading or through deep meditation or through walking, hiking, climbing, playing, dancing, or whatever else that you choose to do to bring yourself into a highest being. And it's just this intention that you're setting and say, I'm going to dance to get connected to myself, to getting into my highest being. I'm going to read, so I will get this euphoria feeling, so I will have this higher consciousness. I'm going to write, I'm going to meditate, or I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. By setting the intention that this is why you're doing it, will bring you to the same result at the end. And all of any other practice that got invented in history, and we're talking about 5,000 years of history or more, it's people invented stuff and they broke it down into a way that I can teach it to someone else. This is how I practice consciousness, and I can teach it to someone else, and it might work for you because it worked for me, because I really believed it, because I created it. And if you really, really believe that it will work for you, yes, it will work for whatever you picked, you know. So if it's the Tai Chi, or if it's the yoga, or if it's the Krav Maga, or if it's whatever, any other practice that got invented in history was to bring you to the same highest being. And what you're doing from this point when you're on your highest being, that's your own decision. Please use it for good things, you know, use it for high conscious, positive things that can change our future. Because you're very powerful once you're reaching this level. You know, if you meditate and you got yourself into this highest level of being and you feel the vibration, you see these engines running very, very smoothly, now you're strong, now you're creating, now you are making magic like that. You know, you're just thinking of what you would like to create, and this is where it's happening. So you're working really, 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 really hard practicing, trying to get this vibration in your head that you can actually feel it. Right now I'm feeling it, you know, I'm doing it. What I would like to create it right that moment, and so fast it will become a reality. I mean, I like to repeat myself again, 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 this simple philosophy, because it's that simple. And as more of you guys practicing it, that's where myself, as you talked about it, I'm counting smiles. And I'm very selfish, I love counting smiles. So I'm working really, really, really hard to make people happy so I can make myself happy. So it's very selfish in a way, but it's very collective selfish in a way. So I make a lot of people happy so they will have the best time of their life, because if they smile, it means that I did a good job. So I'm counting those smiles, and this is how I got paid. And this is how it filled me with energy. I mean, when the events are bigger, when it's more work to do, when there are more people there, instead of getting more frustrated, I'm getting more energized. I love it. Now it's working, you know. This is how I'm supposed to be. And when I'm in these highest moments and I'm enjoying my life and I'm dancing my life on the dance floor, I know that now I'm creating. This is my moment. So while I'm having the time of our life, I'm thinking what will be in my life tomorrow, the following day, 15 years from now, 50 years from now, 500 years from now, 5,000 years from now. Can we get in 5,000 years from now to where we were 5,000 years ago? I think we can. 5,000 years ago we could build pyramids. Can we build pyramids in 5,000 years from today? Can we build pyramids in 5 years from today? Can we start building pyramids tomorrow? I'm not necessarily want us to start building pyramids tomorrow, don't get me wrong, it's not the intention, but if someone in history had to put his mind together consciously enough and create something on this magnitude, it's meant that someone else has these same abilities. Is this someone else, it's a one specific person, or it's every single one of us? It's every single one of us. So if anyone can build anything, it's meant that I can build anything. It's meant that any one of us here can build anything. Build it. You know, make it happen. Whatever it is, use your imagination, you know, make it happen.
What I think our Western culture forgets a lot of too is that our bodies store energy. And whether it's the Qigong or Kundalini or dancing or anything, moving into those parts of the body helps to release that energy. And when you begin to release that energy, you begin to understand yourself more I would think in a more spiritual level, or you understand your emotional body perhaps a little bit more, or you tap into memories that you forgot you had stored, and you go through that release, you bring yourself to a different level of consciousness as well. And I'm happy that you brought up the ear thing earlier too, and how our bodies are mapped out in our ears and are also mapped out in our feet and our hands. And just things to be aware of, that in connecting with our bodies, we are also doing ourselves a mental service by understanding that, you know, the spleen holds certain types of energy, the liver holds certain types of energy, and once we can get that and we can move that energy along, then we can allow ourselves to, you know, get to the next level of consciousness. And so many people don't want to tap into their bodies because it gets so uncomfortable, or so many people don't want to meditate because as they start to meditate, it's not always relaxing. Sometimes past traumas come up or old issues come up, and your body just succumbs to this emotional release that you can't stop. But how powerful all that energy can be, and once you learn how to harness it in your body, then you can apply that to the external world, and then you can apply that to what you build, then you can apply that to what you create. And when you're moving that energy along consciously, other people are responding to that as well, and they're helping to move that along. So it's not stagnating energies, it's not all this dense stuff, it's not that like block chi that has nowhere to go. You're finding this energy, learning how to move it, learning how to channel it into what you do, so that as you do something like a vision board, you're more likely to manifest what you want. Because we're not so separate from our bodies, our mind, our body, our spirit. They're very, very interconnected. Or what is that saying, where we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Yeah? I like that.
Do we have more questions? I know that we are a little bit going over time, you know, because we really enjoy talking. It seems like you guys are still listening. We did not lost the audience. So it's good. But yeah, question, we'll give like 2 more questions and then a few more talking of whatever topics, and then question? Maestro.
Someone mentioned the potentialist.
Yes.
I'm new to town, and some of these things I don't know if they always have a place, or
Yes.
what kind of place.
The Potentialist Workshop, we are on we're on East 2nd Street, so we're 836 East 2nd Street. We're between Wells and Kerman, or Jim Boyce and Renown. We started out as a theater in the back of a thrift shop over on 5th Street, which changed into a theater space over on Dickerson, where we focused on doing all new original type works, kind of extravagant, surrealist type things. And since then, we've moved into this location where we're at, where we have our theater, we have an art gallery, we have about 12 to 15 artists in studio. We are working on putting together a healing arts center, a sculpture garden, working on connecting with the hospital to do more healing arts, and with UNR as well, to get either the music students or however bridged into the community and the arts projects. And we're also working on connecting to other cities and potentially other countries as well in the future. So potentialism, or the idea behind potentialism, the Potentialist Workshop, like I said, coined by Pantoja, if you look it up, is the idea of turning a painting into a theater piece, or finding different ways to mix different types of artistic genres for whatever creative purpose, mostly for like community type orientation, but we're really focused on bringing the inner creative out of the people who don't normally know how, or people who have ideas but aren't sure where to begin. We can connect them to other resources, whether it's in-house or in the community, to help them tune into their inner artists and just inspire like cultural exchange as well.
Do you have a website?
Yep, potentialistworkshop.com. We're also on Facebook, but we've got a comedy group that comes in and does work with us. We do improv, stand-up. We've got musicians in-house. We're putting together a Potentialist choir. We do art shows, art classes, and like Jonah had mentioned earlier, workshops. So I've done things like think tanks, so how to get people outside of their boxes, and brickstorming, things like that.
It's a unique space. I mean, you have a fantastic theater and an outdoor yard and
There's a lot of
copious
potential.
studio space within.
Strangely enough.
And
Please
isn't there
visit.
something going on Thursday night? I just messed around on the street.
Yeah.
Thursday night, we've got the art reception for our current artist. His name is Pacific. No, that's not his name. His name is Pacific. He's from Rwanda. He experienced the genocide and was homeless on the streets at 6 years old, and has since taken the experiences and the help that he has received in terms of getting educated to return that back to his community. So he's got a program where he helps, he's got 100 homeless children under his belt that he teaches the arts, music, dance, whatnot, but his reception will be Thursday. We'll also have African dancers in there. He'll have a talk, and we are the potentialists, so we have a tendency to do multiple things at a time. So we've got Mary War Theater in there, in the theater, doing a play right now called Hey Brother. So, yeah, there's a lot happening on Thursday night.
If you go to the website, potentialistworkshop.com, it's showing you like the next shows and stuff. Now, potentialists in general, it's more than just a place, as you say, the potentialism. It's like a whole philosophy and life theory. But when I met Penn for the first time, Penn was one of the very first people I met in town, and one of the very first thing he did, the potentialist poem that he had. And it's a real long poem that he wrote years back that explained that he is a potentialist, and you're a potentialist too. And how basically everyone can do whatever you wanted to do, and how you're going to make it happen because you're a potentialist. And that's a very moved poem, moved a lot of things in me that gave me the confidence to ask him, can I have a film festival here in your potentialist theater? He said, perfect, that's exactly what it's for. I mean, yeah, take the entire month of April, make it happen. And that was 3 years ago, and we did it. We had like a full film and art festival here in town. A new town to me, that I never done anything like this from this scale, especially not in a new town. And we pulled it off. This is how I met like 90% of the people I know, and all of my future collaborators was from that experience.
Are you talking about the 4th Street?
And now it's becoming into a big 4th Street movement.
And that's coming up, right?
Yeah, Victory Way, happening on the 23rd of April this year.
What is?
The 23rd of April.
What is that?
There's a group of very strong leaders from all over America that came here to Reno. It's like a biannual event that they are doing, Vanguard City, something like that. And they came, and each one of them have to come up with a project proposal. There was $10,000 available on the table. And this group of movers and shakers from their hometown focus on 4th Street, and they create Victory Way on Victory Day. And April 23rd, they're going to take all those businesses here on 4th Street and just put like a big collective event that's happening. So potentially we will do something here at the Morris, and the Bike Project will do something over there, and the Under the Rose will do something over there. The bar and the club potentially will participate, and will be a lot of things that happening on one day just to bring some attention into 4th Street. 4th Street about to go through a lot of changes in the next year or two. They remodeling and recreating the entire street. They're dropping all of the power from up above on a big power and telephone pole to underneath. So just try to think about the process of taking everything from above and put it underground. It means the entire underground needs to be lifted up and redo. So it's a great opportunity for us to say, okay, so if you already redo it, can we redo it cool?
Yeah.
And they actually say, absolutely, let's think together, how cool do you want to do it? This is the criteria and the efficient things that we have to have. And in between those lines, you guys can help us to create. And they create a beautiful proposal. The RTC, the transportation, the Reno transportation team, they're doing a beautiful work and actually presenting it. So it will be functional, will be safer, and will be prettier. And it was a great collaboration that right now they're approaching out to us and say, we want to help with whatever you guys are doing, because we found out that it's helpful for what we're doing. So the project that won the $10,000 was to take all of these telephone poles and repurpose those into build a Burning Man art project, and potentially at the end burn a lot of wood, because we as burners prove that this burn ceremony are beneficial to our life. So now they propose it and they won. They got 10K to actually make it happen. So if you go to our Facebook page, I just shared it on our Facebook page and on my own Facebook page, 4th Street Victory Day, and they're doing it. It's happening, and you have the opportunity to be part of it. So that's bringing me to my last segment. In April, I'm working towards raising funds. I will be able to come back here and be here for a month during April, and focusing not necessarily on the hotel itself, but focusing on outreach and stuff that we can do outside of the hotel. So more collaboration with the potentially collaboration with UNR, without any fear of the daily operation of the hotel that been proved that's working. We're still in business. So taking right now the extra time on our hands or on other people's hands, and put it into something that will continue shape Reno into a better future. So that's happening in my near future. Do you want to share what's happening in your near future, Betsy?
Just working on those 4 food groups of writing and absorbing. So part of my process is visiting these venues and meeting people and getting out of my writer's chair and absorbing the sensory data for future writing.
Kelsey, share about your near future?
This little guy is my near future.
Yeah.
And creating the life. But I think also outside of that is how to get the community interested in the arts and how to get the patrons out.
What do you have to say about it?
He's gonna grab it.
He sounds like an artist for now. That's how we sound, most of us.
Put the attention on me, guys. Put that on me. But yes, how to get the rest of Reno into seeing what we're doing. 'Cause there's so much amazing stuff that's happening around Reno. And like, how do you get the people who don't normally come out to these kind of events and venues interested and involved, because they're just sitting at home watching TV. You know, they're not, wondering how to make their creative life happen. They're, going down gambling in casinos or getting drunk or who knows.
By changing our own consciousness.
Right, start the individual, start themselves.
Yeah, once we understand that everyone doing their best, even if their best is to go and spend money in the casino, but they are doing their best and we accept them as they are, they will be able to come out of the casino one time and say, okay, so I'm in the area, I'll check what's happening in the mornings. And there might be one of those nights tonight. I don't know if any one of you left the casino before they came over here, but maybe. But potentially, yes, I think that the answer for your question is by having more events and activities that are happening all around the city, that not necessarily focusing on one venue, but they are focusing on daily basis, at least 1 or 2 or 3 items on the schedule, like every day that's happening, so people will have the choice. It's not that I have to choose to go to this talk. I'm not interested in the talk. I don't want to come over here. I have nothing to do right now. I'm going to gamble. But if there is a talk happening, and if there's an art event happening, and if it's a discussion group happening, if it's a build group happening, and it's a cleaning the river happening, all in the same time, now I cannot go and gamble. I have to choose one of these 4 events that's happening. So potentially it will come to here. So it's not being afraid that there are too many events in town, and we cannot have an event on the 14th because the other project already said that they're having an event on the 14th. No. Because the other project said that they're having an event on the 14th, we should have also an event on the 14th, and they should have also an event on the 14th. And now all of our people potentially will leave the house and they'll say, okay, so we don't plan on going to the first place, but let's go to the second place. Potentially, more people will leave the house. I mean, if we're counting on the same 50 people that come to all of our events, we have to really think carefully on how to schedule a tribe. But because we're talking about the 250,000 people that live in Reno, we want all of them to leave the houses and do stuff. We have to create stuff for all of them.
And be open to them as well, and be accepting of them. And to create an environment where, although we're eccentric and odd-looking, we're very friendly and intelligent people who, that can be approached, and are people that, can teach something as well as be open to learning from others as well.
I don't think that all of us look weird. Some of us. think that we definitely captured that event. Thank you very much for everyone for participating today in Tuesday Talk Show. We did it. Next, we're going to get in touch with some of the more schools to see if we can start booking next month and the following month. You know, two people of the audience asked me if they will be able to speak the following month, so I want to say yes, you should be able. I don't see any reason why not. But we have procedure that we have to follow, so I'm going to address it up and I'm going to get in touch with you tomorrow or the following day to say what the date will be and if this week or this month or next month. Absolutely.
Thank you for having us on this.
Yeah, thank you very much. Tuesday Talk is back.